Hi, I'm Chrisnat Cruz and we're going to discuss about corporate strategy, vertical integration, and diversification. But before we proceed, I'm going to discuss a little background of Jeffrey Immelt. Jeffrey Immelt joined General Electric in 1982, working in General Electric plastic, appliances, and healthcare businesses. Became a General Electric officer in 1989, joined the Capital Board in 1997, and being named CEO in 2001. What is GE? General Electric Company is a global digital industrial company. The company's products and services range from aircraft, engines, power generation, oil and gas production equipment to medical imaging, financing, and industrial products. Jeffrey Immelt was appointed Chairman and CEO of General Electric, or GE, on September 7, 2001. Since then, the external environment has experienced continuous and dramatic change. External environment is composed of all the outside factors or influences that impact the operation of business. Macro environment consists of general factors that a business typically has no control over. The success of the company depends on its setup. External environment factors that affect GE. The 9/11 tragedy. 9/11 tragedy, also known as nuclear bomb in September 11. 4 days after email took place of being CEO, costing General Electric insurance business $600 million, killing two employees and directly affecting the company's aircraft engine sector. Global financial crisis. Mr. Email participated actively in mergers and acquisition. He purchased the Armored Champ plc for $9.5 billion in 2004. It was the therapeutic nuclear medicine procedures. The Alstom Power business for $12.4 billion in 2015. Mr. Immelt sold General Electric plastic business for $3.3 billion in 2014. In 2015, General Electric announced that it would sell its real estate holdings for $26.5 billion and most of General Electric capital assets. General Electric experienced deep recession from those events, which is the 9/11 tragedy and the global financial crisis. General Electric capital took financial blows, which half of General Electric profit came from it. General Electric also lost its AAA credit rating, and the company had to ask for a $15 billion liquidity injection from famed investor Warren Buffett. So then, Mr. Immelt made changes, refocused General Electric portfolio of businesses and identified the clean technology sector and healthcare as major future growth industries. To capitalize on these opportunities, GE also launched two strategy initiatives, which is Economagination and Health Imagination. Economagination is General Electric Clean Tech Strategy Initiative launched in 2005 and renewed in 2010 by adding another $10 billion in investment. Mr. Inmel explained its strategic intent is to focus our unique energy, technology, manufacturing, and infrastructure capabilities to develop tomorrow's solutions such as solar energy hybrid, locomotives, fuel cells, lower emission aircraft engine, lighter and strong materials, efficient lighting, and water purification technology. Health Imagination launched in 2009, investing $6 billion by 2015. Mr. Immelt explained its strategic intent is to reduce the cost of healthcare by 15%, increase access to essential healthcare services worldwide by 15%, reach a minimum of 100 million people a year, and improve healthcare quality by 15% by streamlining healthcare procedures, processes, and standards. What is corporate strategy? Corporate strategy entails a clearly defined long-term vision that organizations set, seeking to create corporate value and motivate the workforce to implement the proper action to achieve customer satisfaction. Business strategy concerns the question of how to compete in a single product market. Business strategy. It is a strategy that involves a company offering only one product or one product version with very few options. For example, in our public market, we all know that there are many similar products, just like cell phone and accessories. They have different kind of sales stock, how they value the customer, how they organize the product, and because of this, they get the loyalty of the customers. Corporate strategy. The decision that senior management makes a goal-directed action it takes to gain and sustain competitive advantage in several industries and markets simultaneously. Addresses where to compete along three dimensions: product and services, industry value chain, geography. Executive must decide in what stages of the industry value chain to participate. The industry value chain describes the transformation of raw materials into finished goods and services along distinct vertical stages. This decision determines the firm's vertical integration. What range of products and services to offer. This decision determines the firm's level of diversification. Where to compete. In terms of regional, national, or international markets, this decision determines the firm's geographic scope. Strategic management concept that will guide our further discussion. Core competencies are unique strength embedded deep within a firm capability or advantage that distinguishes an enterprise from its competitor. For example, company Facebook. Core competencies connecting over 1 billion social media users worldwide. Application examples: newsfeed, timeline, and drop search. Facebook has a big advantage to other social media because Facebook is also where you can buy and sell your item. Economies of scale occur when a firm's average cost per unit decreases as its output increases. Types of economies of scale: bulk buying, low average cost for buying large quantity. For example, in Taytay, the wholesaler gets a lower price than the retailer. The more you buy many products, the more the price gets decreased. Economies of scope are the savings that come from producing two or more outputs or providing different services at less cost than producing each individuality, though using the same resources and technology. Means that the production of one good reduces the cost of producing another related good. For example, let's say that you're a shoe manufacturer. You produce men's and women's sneakers. Adding a children's line of sneakers would increase economies of scope because you can use the same production equipment, supplies, storage, and distribution channels to make a new line of production. That will further reduce the cost of production on all your shoes. Last, transaction costs are all costs associated with an economic exchange is a cost in making any economic trade when participating in market. It is a cost involved in making an economic transaction. For example, when buying a good or buying foreign exchange, there will be some transaction cost. That's all. Thank you for listening.
Good day everyone, my name is Queen Facial IVR Cruz, the second reporter for today. Now I present the boundaries of the firm. What determines whether a firm produces something in-house or uses the market? A theoretical framework in strategic management called transaction cost economics. Transaction cost economics explains and predicts the boundaries of the firm. Insights gained from the transaction cost economics help managers decide what activities to do in-house versus what services and products to obtain from the external market. Transaction cost economics explain the need for companies in the market. If markets operated in a perfect world, companies would not be needed. as market forces would provide the coordination and incentives needed for production activities. Transaction costs. These are all internal and external costs associated with a economic exchange, whether it takes place within the boundaries of a firm or in the market. Transaction costs are the costs incurred during trading, the process of selling and purchasing, on the top of the price of the product that is changing hands. Transaction costs may also refer to a fee that a bank, broker, underwriter, or other financial intermediaries charges. So, transaction costs have two different types. The first is internal cost and transaction cost. These include costs pertaining to organizing an economic exchange within a firm. Costs pertaining to organizing an economic exchange within a hierarchy, also called administrative cost. For example, the cost of recruiting and retaining employees, paying salaries and benefits, setting up a shop floor, providing office space and computers, and organizing, monitoring, and supervising work. Internal transaction costs include administrative costs associated with coordinating economic activity between different business units of the same corporation, such as transfer pricing for input factors and between business units and corporate headquarters, including important decisions pertaining to rescue allocation, among others. Internal transaction costs tend to increase with organizational size and complexity. The next is external transaction cost. The cost of searching for a firm and an individual with whom the contract and then negotiating, monitoring, and enforcing the contract. So this is the exhibit 8.1. It visualizes the notion of transaction cost. It shows the respective internal transaction costs within firm A and firm B, as well as the external transactions that occur when firm A and firm B do business with one another. The next is firms versus markets. Make or buy. Transaction cost economics allow us to explain which activities a firm should pursue in-house, make, versus which goods and services to obtain externally, buy. These decisions help determine the boundaries of the firm. In some cases, costs of using the market, such as search costs, negotiating and drafting contracts, monitoring work, and enforcing contracts when necessary, may be higher than integrating the activity within a single firm and coordinating it through an organizational hierarchy. When the costs of pursuing an activity in-house are less than the cost of transacting for the activity of the market, then the firm should vertically integrate by owning production of the needed inputs or the channels for the distribution of outputs. In other words, when firms are more efficient in organizing economic activity than our markets, which rely on contracts among any independent actors, firms should vertically integrate. For example, rather than contracting in the open market for individual pieces of software code, Google hires programmers to write code in-house. So owning these software development capabilities is valuable to the firm because it costs such as salaries, employee benefit to in-house computer programmers are less than what they would be in the open market. More importantly, Google gains economies of scope in software development resources and capabilities and reduces the manpower cost. This is because skills acquired in writing software code for its different internet-based service offerings are transferable to new offerings. Next example is programmers working on the original proprietary software code for the Google search engine leverage these skills in creating a high profitable online advertising business. Although some Google software such products are open source, such as Android operating system, many of the company's internet services are based on closely guarded and proprietary software code. Google, like many leading high-tech companies such as Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Microsoft, relies on proprietary software code and algorithm because using open market to transact for individual pieces of software would be prohibitively expensive. Also, the firms would need to disclose the underlying software code to outside developers, thus negating the value creation potential. Firms and markets are different institutional arrangements for organizing economic activity, have their own distinct advantages and disadvantages. So these are the advantages of the firms. The first one is the ability to make command and control decisions by fiat along clear hierarchical lines of authority. Inside a firm, there is a hierarchical lines of authorities like CEO, president, board of directors, managers, employees, etc. Those who are in the highest level has a control over the firm. The next is coordination of highly complex tasks to allow for specialized division of labor. There is more organized work inside a firm. Next is transaction-specific investments such as specialized robotics equipment that is highly valuable within the firm but of a little or no use in the external market. Specialized robotics equipment has a vital role inside a firm as it does it works efficiently and effectively. The last is creation of the community knowledge. So we have also the disadvantages of organizing economic activities within firms. The first one is administrative costs because of necessary bureaucracy. So firms have to pay taxes to government, which cause an disadvantage to the firm. Next is low-powered incentives such as hourly wages and salaries. These often are less attractive motivators than the entrepreneurial opportunities and rewarded that can be obtained in the open market. This is a problem within a firm because of its low salary and low employee benefits given to its employees. Next is the principal agent problem. The principal agent problem is a major disadvantage of organizing economic activity within the firms, as opposed to within markets. It can arise when an agent such as manager performing activities on behalf of the principal, the owner of the firm, pursues his or her own interest. So yeah, the separation of ownership and control is one of the hallmarks of the publicity traded company. And so, some degrees of the principal agent problem is mostly inevitable. For example, a manager may pursue his or her own interests such as job security and managerial perks. For example, corporate jets and golf outings that conflicts within the principal goals, in particular, creating shareholders' value. One potential way to overcome the principal agent problem is to give stock options to managers, thus making them owners. So let's move to the advantages of the markets. High-powered incentives rather than work as a salary engineer for an existing firm. For example, an individual can start a new venture offering specialized software. High-powered incentives of an open market include the entrepreneur's ability to capture the venture's profit, to take a new venture through an initial public offering, or to be acquired by an existing firm. In these so-called liquidity events, a successful entrepreneur can make potentially enough money to provide financial security for life. The next advantage is increased flexibility. Transacting in markets enable us, those who wish to produce goods, to compare prices and services among many different providers. In an open market, there are so many things you can do. Like you can use your skills in different way or in a good way. Next is the disadvantages of the market. Search costs on a very fundamental level, perhaps the biggest disadvantage of transacting in markets rather than owning the various production and distribution activities within the firm itself, entails non-trivial search costs. In particular, a firm faces search costs when it must scour the market to find reliable supplier from among the many firms competing to offer similar products and services. Even more difficult can be the search to find supplier when the specific product and services needed are not offered at all by firms currently in the market. In this case, production of supplies would require transaction-specific investments, an advantage of firms. The next is opportunism by other parties. Opportunism is behavior characterized by self-interest seeking with guile. Market is a big C. There are so many different kind of fish. Some has a good motive, but there are also not. You can't just be at it all the time. So investigate or be more wise before taking a deal. Next is incomplete contracting. Although markets transactions are based on implicit and explicit contracts, all contracts are incomplete to some extent because not all future contingencies are anticipated at the time of contracting. It is also difficult to specify expectations outcomes, or to measure performance. Business can be successful or fail. Sometimes, before the contract come to end, there are incidents that your contract company failed its business and got bankrupt. Enforcement of contracts. It often is difficult, costly, and time-consuming to enforce legal contracts. Not only does litigation absorb a significant amount of managerial resources and attention, but it can be easily amount to several $1 million in legal fees. Legal exposure is one of the major hazards in using markets rather than integrating an activity within a firm's hierarchy. Next topic is vertical integration along the industry value chain. The first key question when formulating corporate strategy is, in what stages of the industry value chain should the firm participate? Deciding whether to make or buy the various activities in the industry value chain involves the concept of vertical integration. So what is vertical integration? Vertical integration is the firm's ownership of its product, of needed inputs, or of the channels by which it distributes its output. Vertical integration can be measured by a firm's value added. What percentage of a firm's sales is generated within the firm's boundaries? What degrees of vertical integration tends to correspond to the number of industry value chain stages in which a firm directly participates. Industry value chain. Industry value chain are also called vertical value chains because they depict the transformation of raw materials into finished goods and services along distinct vertical stages. Each stage of the vertical value chain typically represents a distinct industry in which a number of different firms are competing. This is also why the movement of a firm backwards or forward along the vertical industry value chain is called vertical integration. So this exhibit 8.4 depicts a generic industry value chain. To understand the concept of vertical integration along the different stages of the industry value chain more fully, let's use your cell phone as an example. This ubiquitous device is the result of a globally coordinated industry value chain of different products and services. So the first stage is the raw materials to make your cell phone, such as chemicals, ceramics, metals, oil for plastic, and so on, are commodities. In each of these commodity businesses are different companies, such as DuPont in US, BASF in Germany, Kyocera in Japan, and ExxonMobil in US. Next is intermediate goods and components such as integrated circuits, displays, touchscreens, cameras, and batteries are provided by firms such as ARM Holdings in UK, Jabil Circuit in US, Intel in US, LG Display in Korea, Altec in Taiwan, and BYD in China. The next is original equipment manufactured by firms or OEMs, such as Electronics in Singapore or Foxconn in China typically assemble cell phones under contract for consumer electronics and telecommunication companies such as BlackBerry in Canada, Ericsson in Sweden, Motorola in US, Nokia in Finland, Samsung in South Korea, and others. If you look closely at an iPhone, for example, you'll notice it says designated by Apple in California but assembled in China. Last is to get wireless data and voice service. You pick a service provider such as AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, or Verizon in the United States, America Mobile in Mexico, Oi in Brazil, Orange in France, T-Mobile or Vodafone in Germany, NTT Docomo in Japan, Airtel in India, or China Mobile in China, among others. All of these companies, from the raw material suppliers to the service providers, comprise the global industry value chain that, as a whole, deliver you a working cell phone. Determined by their corporate strategy, each firm decides where in the industry value chain to participate. This in turn defines the vertical boundaries of the firm. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Manilyn Daradal and I will discuss the continuation of vertical integration. The degree to which a firm owns its upstream suppliers and its downstream buyers is referred to as vertical integration. Vertical integration involves purchasing a production or sales process that was previously outsourced to have it done in the house. Typically, a company's supply chain or process begins with purchase of raw materials from the supplier and ends it with selling the final products to the customer. There are two types of vertical integration, the backward vertical integration and the forward vertical integration. Let's define what is the backward vertical integration. Backward vertical integration is moving ownership of activities upstream to the originating inputs of the value chain. Moreover, by moving downstream into sales, increasing its branding activities. Backward vertical integration is into an industry that produces inputs for the company's product. When we say backward vertical integration, it is a form of vertical integration in which a company expands its role to fulfill tasks formerly completed by a business of the supply chain. Example, a car manufacturer is pursuing backward integration when it acquires a tire manufacturer. Manufacturing means a retailer buys the manufacturer of their product. In other words, backward integration is when company buys another company that supplies the product or services needed for production. Now, let's define what is forward vertical integration. Forward vertical integration is changes in an industry value that involves moving ownership of activities to the endpoints of the value chain. Forward vertical integration is into an industry that uses, distributes, or sells the company products. When we say forward vertical integration, it is a strategy that involves a form of downstream vertical integration whereby the company owns and controls business activities that are ahead in the value chain of its industry. Example, so the car manufacturer in the previous example may acquire an automotive dealership, acquiring a business ahead of its own supply chain. This gets the manufacturer closer to the consumer and gives company more revenue. Forward integration helps company cut out the middleman by removing distributors that would typically be paid to sell a company's product, reducing their overall profitability. This might include, among others, direct distribution or supply of the company's product. This type of vertical integration is conducted by a company advancing along the supply chain. From the previous example, this is the illustration that shows the backward and forward vertical integration of a car manufacturer. The backward vertical integration is the supplier, which is the tire manufacturer, and the forward vertical integration is the automotive dealer or the one that sells the car. In short, expansion of activities downstream is referred to as a forward vertical integration, and the expansion of upstream is referred to as a backward vertical integration. Another example of vertical integration is Apple. Competing with Apple is difficult because Apple is actually four diverse and thriving companies all warped up into one. It's a hardware company, a software company, a service company, and a retail company. Most technology companies in the world can manage one or two of these disciplines, but only Apple has four entities working in harmony. Apple, as we say, is vertically integrated. It controls all major critical parts of chain used to make and sell products. Apple builds a great hardware, owns the core software experience, optimizes its software for the hardware, equips it with well services like iTunes and iClouds, and finally controls the selling experience through its own retail store. So the backward vertical integration of Apple is its production and design, hardware, software, and devices. Its software products are placed into electronic devices and computer systems manufactured by the company. Apple's use of backward vertical integration has been a great success and allow company to advance its new product and technology at most rapid pace. While the forward vertical integration of the Apple products are almost exclusively sold at a company-owned location. This allows product to tightly control distribution and sales to the end customer. Now, let's proceed to the benefits of vertical integration. Vertical integration benefits company by allowing them to control the process, reduce costs, and improve efficiencies. To decide the degree and type of vertical integration to pursue, managers need to understand the positive benefits and risk of vertical integration. Companies pursue vertical integration for the various advantages it offers, namely having greater control over the supply chain and the ability to offer lower prices while increasing market control. But there are plenty of other benefits of vertical integration, whether forward or backward vertical integration. Number 1, securing critical supplies and distribution channel. Reduce supply disruption from suppliers that might fall into financial hardship. Second, lowering costs. Lower costs through economies of scale by buying large quantities of raw materials or streamlining the manufacturing process per unit, costs are lowered. Third, improving quality. By having your own supplier, you can make a good quality product. Fourth, facilitating scheduling and planning. Decrease transportation costs and reduce delivery turnaround times, increase competitiveness by getting products to consumer directly and quickly. And last, facilitating investment in specialized asset. Facilitate investment in highly specialized asset in which upstream or downstream players may be reluctant to invest. Vertical integration can help boost profit and allows company more immediate access to consumer. So those are the benefits of vertical integration. Thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone. I'm Rikami Mehedana from BSBA HRDM2. I am the one who present the topic of corporate strategy, vertical integration, and diversification. The continuation of Ms. Drada's report. But first, let's find out what does specialized asset mean. It is an attribute of transaction which has features or aspect that makes it useful for one or a few specific purposes only. Assets that have significantly more value in their intended use than in their next best use. So in short, it is a degree to which an asset is committed to a specific task and cannot be redeployed to alternative uses without sacrificing the majority of its productive value. Let's go to the next topic. There are three types of specialized assets. First is the site specificity. Assets are required to be co-located, such as the equipment necessary for the mining bauxite and aluminum smelting. So it means it is a location of the asset. The asset is restricted to the particular area, and the distance and the accessibility to it can take time and money. Like for example, the coal plant and the electric utility. The second one is the physical asset specificity. Assets whose physical and engineering properties are designed to satisfy a particular customer, such as bottling machinery for Coca-Cola and PepsiCo. Since the bottles have different and often trademark shape, they are required unique modes. Can, in contrast, do not require physical asset specificity because they are generic. So the physical asset, it is a machine or building which has a narrowly defined its use. Like for example, the bottling machinery of PepsiCo and the Coca-Cola company. And the last one is the human asset specificity. Investment made in human capital to acquire unique knowledge and skills, such as mastering the routine and procedure of a specific organization, which are not transferable to a different employer. So the people must be obtained a particular training or skills which can only be applied in specialized areas. Like for example, a clerical workers in a physician's office acquire the skills to use particular practice management software. Second, a salesperson possesses detailed knowledge of customer firm's internal organization. The next topic, risk of vertical integration. Depending on the situation, vertical integration has several risks including first, increasing costs. It means the internal supplier lost incentives to compete. Next, reducing quality. It means the single can capture the customer and can experience a slow effects. The third, reducing flexibility. It means they can experience a slow response to the changes in technology or demand. And the last, increasing the potential for legal repercussions. So the Federal Trade Commission or the FTC is carefully review the plans of the corporation. Like for example, the PepsiCo and the Coca-Cola. The FTC review the plans to buy a bottlers. So the next topic is alternatives to vertical integration. So there are two alternatives to vertical integration. The first one is the taper integration. One of the alternative to vertical integration, it is a way of orchestrating value activities in which a firm is backwardly integrated, but it is also relies on outside market firms for someone its distribution. So it means a producer might manufacture some of the output itself and buy the remaining portion from independent firms when they are backward or forward integrated, but rely on the outsider for a proportion of their supplier and distribution. The taper integration represents a useful compromise between desire to control adjacent businesses and needs to retain strategic flexibility. Like for example, Tim Hortons owning some of its retail outlet but also using franchising. Next, Coca-Cola and PepsiCo both having integrated bottling subsidiaries while also relying on independent bottlers from production and distribution in some markets. Or BMW, which uses both in-house market research from its corporate center development and external market research from independent specialized firms. So this is the example of taper integration. The next, so there are several benefits of taper integration. First, it exposes in-house supplier and distribution to market competition so that performance comparison are possible. Rather than hollowing out its competencies by relying too much on outsourcing, taper integration allows a firm to retain a fine-tune its competencies in upstream and downstream value chain activities. Next, taper integration also enhances a firm flexibility. Third, using taper integration, firms can combine internal and external knowledge, possibly paving the path for innovation. Then the last alternative to vertical integration is the strategic outsourcing. Another alternative to vertical integration which involves moving one or more internal value chain activities outside the firm's boundaries to the other firms in the industry value chain. So it means the outsourced services represent a set of operations that are delegated by a company for management to a third-party service provider. Most commonly, this process is associated with the small companies that do not enough resources to manage all tasks themselves. Thank you for listening. God bless.
Good morning everyone. I'm the next reporter. My name is Mary Ann Ima Usik. The next topic is all about corporate diversification expanding beyond a single market. There are various general diversification strategies. First, a firm that is active in several different product markets is pursuing a product diversification strategy. So, there is a business that is stable when it comes to product strategies. So next is a firm that is active in several different countries is pursuing a geographic diversification strategy. So that firm it is also said to be active when it comes to different countries. So next is a company that pursues both a product and a geographic diversification strategy simultaneously. Follows a product market diversification strategy. So the company that pursues both product and geographic strategies is following the product market diversification strategy. Types of corporate diversification. A single business firm derives 95% or more of its revenues from one business. Although Google is active in many different businesses, it obtains more than 95% of its revenues, $50 billion in 2012, from online advertising. Diversification, an increase in the variety of products and services a firm offers or markets and the geographic regions in which it competes. Product diversification strategy. Corporate strategy in which a firm is active in several different product markets. Geographic diversification strategy. Corporate strategy in which a firm is active in, in several different countries. Product market diversification strategy. Corporate strategy in which a firm is active in several different product markets and several different countries. So next, a dominant business firm derives between 70 and 95% of its revenues from a single business, but it pursues at least one other business activity. The dominant business shares competencies in products, services, technology, or distribution, although Harley-Davidson is primarily a motorcycle manufacturer. It derives some 10% of its annual revenues from Harley-Davidson branded motorcycle clothing and attire as well as from licensing its product. Related diversification strategy. When it derives less than 70% of its revenues from a single business activity and obtains revenues from other lines of business linked to the primary business activity. See Exhibit 8.7. The rationale related diversification is to benefit from economies of scale and scope. These multi-business firms can pool and share resources as well as leverage competencies across different business lines. Unrelated diversification, corporate strategy in which a firm derives less than 70% of its revenues from a single business activity and there are few, if any, linkages among its businesses. Conglomerate, a company that combines two or more strategy business units under one overarching corporation. Follows an unrelated diversification strategy. So here's the chart. So it is exhibit 8.7 different types of diversification. Types of diversification. First, single business, dominant business, related diversification, related constraint, related link, unrelated diversification. So revenues from primary activity, single business is 95%. Sample firms, Coca-Cola, Tibers, Google. Dominant business, 70 to 90%. Revenues from primary activity, sample firms, Harley-Davidson, Microsoft, Nestle. Related diversification, related constraint, revenues from primary activity is 70%. Sample firms, ExxonMobil, Johnson and Johnson. 2. Related link, revenues from primary activity is 70%. Sample firms, Amazon, Disney. Unrelated diversification, revenues from primary activity is 70%. Sample firms, Berkshire Hathaway, GE, Tata Group. So next, sample firms example. Single business. Coca-Cola is a public traded company and the world's largest producer and marketer of non-alcoholic beverages. De Beers is an international corporation that specializes in diamond mining, diamond exploitation, diamond retail, diamond trading, and industrial diamond manufacturing sectors. The company is active in open pit, large-scale alluvial, coastal, and deep-sea mining. Google is a multinational tech company mainly known for its search engine. The company is the biggest corporation in internet services with a web of its apps like the search engine, Gmail, Google Maps, YouTube, each. It has varied products including advertising services, cloud computing, software, each. The company was founded by Sergey Brin and Larry Page in 1998. Dominant business: Harley-Davidson, American motorcycle manufacturer, founded in 1903 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The company has survived numerous ownership arrangements, subsidiary arrangements, period of poor economic health and product quality, and products intense global competition. Microsoft was started by Bill Gates in 1975 and built a software Windows. The company went on to build Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and much other software which are used on a day basis by professionals and almost every company. So next is Nestle. Products include baby food, medical food, bottled water, breakfast, cereals, coffee and tea, confectionery, dairy products, ice cream, frozen food, pet foods, and snacks. So next is related diversification. First is related constraint. ExxonMobil hopes to leverage its core competency in the exploration and commercialization of oil into natural gas extraction. The company is producing nearly equal amounts of crude oil and natural gas, making it the world's largest producer of natural gas. Next is Johnson & Johnson. It's an American multinational corporation founded in 1886 that develops medical devices, pharmaceutical, and consumer packaged goods. So number 2 is related link. Amazon Corporation, founded by Jeff Bezos, is the world leading e-commerce and innovation company. Amazon was founded in 1994 and is a world leader in e-commerce. It has taken massive business away from the brick and mortar stores by providing the facilities to order products at home. Amazon.com provides millions of products on its website which can be ordered by the consumers and delivered at their doorstep. The company has become the largest retailer and one of the favored stock on the exchanges. Disney, the company established itself as a leader in the American animation industry before diversifying into live action film production, television, and theme parks. So next is unrelated diversification. Berkshire Hathaway is an American multinational conglomerate holding company headquartered in Omaha, Nebraska, United States. Products: diversified investment, property and casualty insurance, utilities, restaurant, food processing, aerospace, toys, media, automotive, sporting goods, consumer products, internet, real estate. So next is General Electric Company. It's an American multinational conglomerate incorporated in New York City and headquartered in Boston. As of 2018, the company operates through the following segments: aviation, healthcare, power, renewable energy, digital industry, additive manufacturing, and venture capital and finance. So next is Tata Group. Is an Indian multinational conglomerate headquartered in Mumbai, Maharashtra, India. Founded in 1868 by Jamsetji Tata, the company gained international recognition after purchasing several global companies' products: automotive, airlines, chemicals, defense, FMCG, electric, utility, finance, football club, home appliances, hospitality, industry, IT services, retail, e-commerce, real estate, steel, telecom. So thank you.
Good day everyone, so I'm Anjali Manaog and my report is Leveraging Core Competencies for Corporate Diversification.
Core Competence Market Matrix, a framework to guide corporate diversification strategy by analyzing possible combinations of existing new core competencies and existing new markets.
So what are core competencies? Core competencies are special skills and capabilities of the firm that provide some competitive advantage in the marketplace. We are primarily interested in those skills and capabilities that allow the firm brand to deliver superior customer value. You should note that core competencies are skill sets that reside in the people and processes within the organization. They are ways that the organization operates rather than the physical resources that the firm. You should use the words expertise, abilities, skills, know-how, processes, and so on. Core competence analysis is the process of identifying your company's core competencies in order to develop strategies that lead to increased market share and innovation. It is necessary to be intentional and thorough to arrive at a clear understanding of what your company's core competencies are, which provides a foundation for strategic decision making. A company's strategic endeavors should all stem from leveraging its core competencies to deliver ever greater value for its customer. Core competencies guide the organization's ability to make sound choices when it comes to partnerships, outsourcing, recruiting, technology, marketing, or other types of investments, all of which should work in harmony to continuously strengthen and further embed the core competencies across the company. As a company's core competence builds, so does the opportunity to leverage itself into new emerging markets and to generate new products, services, business models, and disruptive innovations. Once managers have a clear understanding of their firm's core competencies, they have four options to formulate corporate strategy. So first is leveraging existing core competencies to improve current market position. Leverage in strategic business term means enhancing the firm resources and capabilities to increase its competitive advantage. Strategic capabilities are the core competency of the firm that enable it to outperform other firms in the industry or provide superior value to the customer and achieve extraordinary profit. Provide a platform for innovation. Bain and Company points out identifying core competencies can help you branch into a wide variety of related markets. In other words, once you perfect your competencies, you have some tools you can leverage to innovate in other ways. So, How can you use your core competencies in another market to disrupt in your own market? You can use your core competencies to invent new markets and quickly enter emerging markets and widen the domain in which the company innovates, according to Bain and Company. Fast Company offers following business core competencies examples of companies who have leveraged their core competencies for innovation and growth. The Netflix expanded a core competency of content delivery to include not only physical and digital content but also create their own original content. And then the Apple used a core competency of design to attack all types of hardware and software and disrupt multiple industries like the music industry. The Nike used a core competency of product development to burst through manufacturing shoes and widen their circle of competency to a digital platform. So the second one is build new core competencies to protect and extend current market position. You first need to brainstorm a list of business competencies relevant to the core of your business. One way to do this is to articulate the strategic intent that could define your company as a leader in the markets. Observe and identify which competencies are needed to dominate your market based on that intent. Once you develop the list of core competencies, make sure that you develop a way to improve these business competencies so that they remain a distinct competitive advantage. If you don't keep improving on them, you are leaving space open for the competition. Redeploy and recombine existing core competencies to compete in markets of the future. So once we create a list of candidates, there are 3 tests to help us confirm we have identified true core competencies. So, provide potential access to a wide variety of markets and give you the ability to leverage the full potential of the capability on a large scale. Should make a significant contribution to the perceived customer benefits of the product and provide value not easily found elsewhere. Difficult to imitate by competitors. Build new core competencies to create and compete in markets of the future. Once we create a list of candidates, there are 3 tests to help us confirm we have identified true core competencies. Oh my God, I'm so wrong. Build new core competencies to create and compete in markets of the future. Syempre, of course, you must not be contented to what core competencies you have. You should build new core competencies to create and compete in markets in the future of your company. Corporate diversification and firm performance. Corporate managers pursue diversification to gain and sustain competitive advantage. Corporate executives should also be mindful of the causality between the degree of diversification and the success of the company, and recognize that both factors influence each other simultaneously. Performance leads to higher diversification. Likewise, greater extent of diversification leads to higher performance. The diversification performance relationship is function of the underlying type of diversification. A cumulative body of research indicates an inverted U-shaped relationship between the type of diversification and overall firm performance. Yan. For diversification to enhance firm performance, it must do at least one of the following: provide economies of scale, which reduces costs; exploit economies of scope, which increase value; reduce costs and increase value; benefit from financial economies, including restructuring using internal capital markets. Yan. Diversification discount and diversification premium. The diversification discount is situation in which the stock price of highly diversified firms is valued at less than the sum of their individual business units, while the diversification premium is a situation in which the stock price of related diversification firms is valued at greater than the sum of their individual business units. Yan. Corporate strategy, vertical integration, sources of value creation, securing critical supplies, lowering costs, improving quality, facilitating scheduling and planning, facilitating investment in specialized assets. Sources of costs: increasing costs, reducing quality, reducing flexibility, increasing potential for legal repercussions. So related diversification, economies of scope, economies of scale, restructuring, internal capital markets. So source of costs, coordination costs, influence costs. Unrelated diversification, restructuring, internal capital markets. The source of cost is influence costs. So let's go to the beach each. Restructuring. Boston Consulting Group, or BCG Growth, share a matrix corporate planning tool in which the corporation is viewed as a portfolio of business units, which are represented graphically along relative market share, horizontal axis, and speed of market growth, vertical axis. So, yan. This restructuring the corporate. So, question mark earnings are low, unstable, or growing. Cash flow negative. Strategy increase market share or harvest divest. So sa star, earnings high, stable, or growing. Cash flow neutral. Strategy hold or invest to growth. So the cash cow, earnings high, stable. The cash flow is high and stable. Strategy hold. And dog, the dog earnings are low, unstable, cash flow neutral or negative. Strategy harvest or divest. So yan yung cycle niya. The management of concern corporate entity facing the financial crunches hires a financial and legal expert for advisory and assistance in the negotiation and the transaction deals. Usually, the concerned entity may look at debt financing, operations reduction, any portion of the company to the interested investors. Corporate restructuring is an action taken by the corporate entity to modify its capital structure or its operations significantly. Generally, corporate restructuring happens when a corporate entity is experiencing significant problems and is in financial jeopardy. So the process of corporate restructuring is considered very important to eliminate all the financial crises and enhance the company's performance. In addition to this, the need for a corporate restructuring arises due to the change in the ownership structure of a company. Such change in the ownership structure of the company might be due to the takeover, merger, adverse economic conditions, adverse change in business such as buyouts, bankruptcy, lack of integration between the divisions, overemployed personnel, and etc. So, types of corporate restructuring, financial restructuring. This type of restructuring may take place due to a severe fall in the overall sales because of the adverse economic condition. Here, the corporate entity may alter its equity pattern, debt servicing schedule, the equity holdings, and cross-holding pattern. All this is done to sustain the market and the profitability of the company. So the next one is organizational restructuring. The organizational restructuring implies a change in the organizational structure of a company, such as reducing its level of the hierarchy and redesigning the job position, downsizing the employees, and changing the reporting relationships. So this type of restructuring is done to cut down the cost and to pay off the outstanding debt to continue with the business operation in some manner. Reason for corporate restructuring. So there's a reason for corporate restructuring. The first one is change in strategy. So the management of the distressed entity attempts to improve its performance by eliminating its certain division and subsidiaries which do not align with the core strategy of the company. The division or subsidiaries may not appear to fit strategically with the company's long-term vision. Thus, the corporate entity decides to focus on its core strategy and dispose of the such asset to the potential buyers. So the second one is lack of profits. The undertaking may not be enough profit making to cover the cost of capital of the company and may cause economic losses. The poor performances of the undertaking may be the result of a wrong decision taken by the management to start the division or the decline in the profitability of the undertaking due to the change in customer needs or increasing costs. So the third one is reverse synergy. Synergy. This concept is in contrast to the principle of synergy, where the value of a merged unit is more than the value of individual units collectively. According to reverse synergy, the value of an individual unit may be more than the merged unit. This is one of the common reasons for divesting in the asset of the company. The concerned entity may decide that by divesting a division to a third party can fetch more value rather than owning it. The fourth one is cash flow requirements. Disposing of an unproductive undertaking can provide a considerable cash inflow to the company. If the concerned corporate entity is facing some complexity in obtaining finance, disposing of an asset is an approach in order to raise money and to reduce debt or utang. Important aspect to be considered in corporate restructuring strategies. First is legal and procedural issues, accounting aspects, human and cultural synergies or synergies, valuation and funding, taxation and stamp duty aspects, competition aspects, etc. Using internal capital market. Internal capital market can be a source of value creation in diversification strategy if the conglomerate's headquarters does a more efficient job of allocating capital through its budgeting process than what could be achieved in external capital market. In diversification strategy, internal capital markets may be a source of value creation if the headquarters of the conglomerate conducts more productive tasks of allocating capital through the budgeting phase. What could be done in the external capital market? Capital Markets Group can help companies meet a wide variety of financial goals such as raising equity or issuing debt. A capital markets group may provide investment management services, lending services, equity sales and trading, research, consulting services, or any number of other types of financial services. Yay! I'm done. That's all. Thank you, HR.
Thank you for watching.